Look, that is a big claim. Is DoorDash lying to you as a Dasher? And here's the thing, other food delivery apps, it doesn't matter which one you're driving for, they might be accused of doing the same thing. So in this video, we're going to go over what's being said, the stats, to comb through and get to the actual truth so you know what's going on for your next shift. So recently, I did a video about DoorDash's letter to investors, detailing their numbers and statements in their Q3 earnings of 2021. And there was a controversial point that I saw in the comments and then in discussion of that video. It stated right here, over the last 2 years, that's 2019, we reduced average consumer fees per order by 9%, increased average earnings per active hour for Dashers by over 30%, and it continues there. So statistically, DoorDash calculated that since, again, 2019, your average earnings per active hour increased by 30%. Now, here's the thing, kind of a more breakdown of this statement here. DoorDash stated that earnings per active hour increased by 9% versus Q3 of 2020. So that's year over year. Of Q3 2021 to Q3 of 2020, earnings increased by just 9%. So here's the thing. Here's the argument that I saw of really a massive earnings increase, 30% since 2019. So think about it. Think about 2019 to 2021. What has been going on specifically, kind of affecting directly the food delivery space that might skew those numbers? Now, you might be thinking the same thing that other team members in our community were saying on that video in the comments, that they were saying, hey, this 30% increase since 2019, which is a massive pay increase, I mean, late 2019, all through 2020 into 2021, we've had, of course, this pandemic, which again directly affected food delivery. So while pay is increased technically by 30%, it's really with special circumstances, which aren't going to be around forever here, that artificially boosted your earnings. I mean, let's be real here. If indoor dining is closed, consumers have no other option other than ordering food delivery. Okay, well, consumer behaviors really being kind of forced into food delivery. Again, 2020 especially, 2021. What else has been going on by the numbers over these years that might explain, is that a legit 30% increase in pay? And I guess moreover, is pay actually going up? Well, let's look at this data chart here from Second Measure, stating the leaders in the food delivery space by market monthly sales as far as November of 2021. And still DoorDash in a commanding lead. I mean, we've been following this here in the channel. For more tips, tricks, and strategies, news like this, I invite you to subscribe if you aren't subscribed already. If you haven't done so, check out our Amazon storefront. It's our team storefront, link down below for the best accessories as well. But DoorDash, as of November, still has a 57% market share in the meal delivery space. So over almost 3 years, DoorDash has always been number one. They're maintaining their number one status. And moreover, let's go back to that letter to investors going over Q3 of 2021. In that letter, they also state that they're hitting record MAU numbers, which is monthly active users. They're still hitting record numbers from Q2 and maintaining that in Q3 as well. So then what influences your actual earnings? If market share is good and consumer behaviors, new acquisitions of consumers are good as well. Now here's lean in for this. Here's what we're going to look for at the, of course, ending here Q4 of 2021 into Q1 and Q2 especially in 2022. I anticipate, and I think DoorDash kind of hinted this as well, I anticipate a tapering in consumer spending in Q1 and especially in Q2. And here's why. I mean, let's look at the economy. We have no more stimulus here as far as stimulus checks, what have you, due to the pandemic here. Number two, restaurants are largely back to normal, at least for most parts of the US here. And I think that's going to reflect in a normal consumer behavior and spending. Going back to the Q3 letter, DoorDash states, our Q4 outlook also anticipates the continued normalization of retention and order frequency among newer and lesser engaged cohorts as in-store dining and holiday travel resume. We caution investors that significant uncertainty remains and consumer behavior could deviate from the expectations included in our guidance. So let's define what this really means. I think there's some hints in here that you need to pay attention to. So specifically, that DoorDash is going to anticipate continued normalization of retention and order frequency among who, right? Newer and lesser engaged cohorts. What does that mean? So newer customers and customers that are less, quote, less engaged, they're less vested. They don't really use DoorDash as much. Maybe they're using it just because of the pandemic. They're not really comfortable going to in-restaurant dining yet. But again, Q4, and for my prediction upwards of Q2 here, I think we're going to see, again, a tapering of spending here back to, as DoorDash says, more of that normalization. And those lesser engaged customers, again, that were just kind of using DoorDash just for 2020, 2021, they're going to be leaving possibly DoorDash. Remember that 2019 to 2021 earnings increase was, again, 30%. But from 2020 to 2021, it dropped 21%. And that net gain in average hourly earnings was just 9%. So if we take Q3 of 2021, that 9% gain from the year prior, and if we fast forward to, let's say, Q2, you may see a continued drop in average hourly earnings increase. So maybe Q2, it's kind of a 7% gain from Q3 earnings. To give you some really straightforward feedback here, it's that we're just not going to see the crazy consumer spending that we saw in early 2020, which means, tons of orders, maybe and especially an imbalance of supply and demand of orders and drivers, especially drivers that didn't want to drive, really peak pandemic here. So that imbalance is kind of leveling out. The consumer spending is kind of leveling out as well. Now, I don't think that means that your earnings are going to tank. I don't think that. I think that some consumers really got used to ordering out, that they got comfortable, they like the convenience, and again, they just enjoy ordering from apps like DoorDash, Uber Eats versus necessarily going out to eat, even if in-restaurant dining is open in their market. So here's where I absolutely need your help down below in the comments. Here's what we're going to do. So comment down below, has the order volume been the same and the peak pay, the bonus pay, has it been the same, especially compared to, let's say, Q3? Has it been the same or has it gone down? And if you're watching this or even later in Q1 of 2022, let us know the same. And what we're going to do is compare that to the numbers in the Q4 earnings statement, the letter to investors from DoorDash. Are we going to see a continued tapering of, the increase in the average earnings, the average hourly pay that we've seen in the Q3 letter? So simply put, no, DoorDash didn't lie to Dashers. The numbers are the numbers. There was a 30% increase in hourly earnings from 2019, a 9% compared to 2020. But maybe the source of a lot of that earnings increase is certainly not going to be around into 2022, 2023. So let us know down below in the comments as well if you agree with that. And if you did get value in this video, you can definitely drop me a like. And you can also click or tap the screen here for my newest video, as well as a video recommended for you. And I'll see you in the next one.